In this video, I will explain you the 3 most important factors if you want to have your leads work together and stick out of the mix. I want to quickly show you a section of a new track. It's not finally mixed, but I can already explain the concepts because they're so major that you will already feel what they do to this section here. So check this out. So we have this major element, which is the melody, which is the element which we can feel the most in that section, and it's the most important one. And this one I want to have sticking out of this mix, and then I want all the other layers to kind of like work towards it. So check this out. And it sticks so out because it's actually very dry besides that reverb, and it's very plucky and short and has all that high notes which help it to stick out of this mix here. And then I have this very dark FM here. And notice how much delay that has on. So the mix of those two elements is very different, and the timbre of those elements is very different. That's why they contrast well. So in the selection of the elements, usually I try to get a lot of contrast. So each element is kind of like an own actor and has its own role. And if I have elements which are very similar to each other, then I have another trick which I will come later to. But that's usually not so much the case. I would say it's more like this. Then we have this layer here, which is supporting everything a bit. It's very gated and it fills a little bit up that thing which the other FM was missing. I could actually turn it off and you wouldn't notice a huge difference. I think it makes a difference because it gives a vibe to that section, and as I said, it fills up the frequency, but it's not a major element anymore. It's just like a supporting layer here. And lastly, we have this little pad in here, which rises and gives some tension to that section. And just saying, as this is like in the process, this track, I don't find it nice that it breaks off in volume here by closing that EQ. So I will rework that, I'll blend that with a nice effects in here. But this is the pad here. It's also a bit harsh, so it needs some mixing, but the point of this tutorial is not how to mix everything properly. The point of this tutorial is how to make your leads work together and really stick them out of the mix. And that's the main thing, as I have showed, is the selection of the elements. If you have that right, then the next important thing is that the melodies and the rhythms are fitting those elements. So, for example, I've shown you that I have this contrasting element, so I can run them more together as if I have very similar elements. If I have two elements which are very close together in their timbre, then I might separate them by different notes if it's melodies, so for example playing one octave higher and one octave lower, or if it's rhythmical elements like FMs, then maybe I need to separate them in space so that I have one in the beginning of the bar playing and one in the end of the bar playing, or actually I can separate elements by mixing them differently, as I've shown here. We have this very dry or dry delay element, and I have this element which is kind of like taking a lot of space then and really has this large delay. So that's something you can also do then to separate those elements. So first element selection, and then secondly comes the rhythm and the melodies, and third comes the mix actually. So how much reverbs and delays do you place? What's the volume of those elements, on all those things, which I show actually very good in another video, how to mix Psytrance leads, if you want to check that one out. And that's, I think, are the main three things. And in the end, it comes down to skills. So just saying, I want to give you a look into my production here. So I have usually like a VST here. I don't use much the Ableton operator. Still, you could do it, and there's guys who make amazing stuff with that. But if I look into my processing chain here, there's just this gatekeeper, but I could replace that easily with something else. And all the other stuff is just Ableton. Then here, there's the Saturn, but it's turned off, and I have a multiband compressor in here, but the rest is just Ableton, plain Ableton. And here, it's also just Ableton stuff in there. So this one is the audio version of a similar like this one. And then I have here this pad. This one is off, so I could actually remove those for simplicity. And the rest is just Ableton, besides like this little LFO tool for gating. So and the Pro MB, but I could actually replace that also with another Ableton compressor if I wanted to. What I want to say with that is, don't make your production so complicated. Don't use so many sounds, don't use so many different VSTs. Don't buy so many stuff on the internet, because all those software companies offer you simple solution for complex problems. And actually the problems they tell you they solve are not always the problems your music has. So they cannot solve the sound selection for you, or maybe they can some. And they cannot really solve that you make amazing melodies and rhythms. They can help you a bit with that. So there's cool tools out there for making melodies and cool tools for chord progressions and rhythms and everything. But in the end, it's basically you, the guy, is in the operating seat, and you will need to learn how to really craft good melodies and rhythms. And you will need to learn how to mix those different elements, because you cannot just slap like a wonder button on them. You will need the skill to knowledge how to mix which elements. And if you want to learn about this, then you can check out my course. It's in the description box below and a link above here. And if you click it, you get the first lectures for free. So you just need to sign up, and I will send you the first lectures for free. And then you can still decide if that course is for you. And in the worst case, you have just learned something and spent no money, and maybe saved some money on some VSTs you didn't really need. And that's actually the only magic, how to make a killer section and make your elements really stick out of the track. And if you want to learn more details about mixing, you can check out this video next.